Hello folks, and welcome back to the office. I really hope that you enjoyed last Sunday's video, which was my favourite vlogs and locations from 10 down to 6. Now I ran out of time. I think I'd been rambling on for about 20 minutes, so I decided to stop the video at number 6 and then do a separate video, which is this one, for the top 5. And the main reason, I don't usually do these sorts of videos, but the main reason for it is we're obviously not getting out at the moment. I'm really trying to keep all my sites and social media, I suppose, a virus-free zone. There's enough stuff on the news and TV, and the reason for these videos is to perhaps give you something different to watch. I got such a lovely response from the video I put out a few weeks ago asking whether it would be worthwhile doing this or not, so thank you very much, and thank you very much if you watched last week. I've recorded this not too long after, so I don't know if any of you have commented on what videos you think are in the top 5, but I tell you, I've had some fun and some memories relived by going back and watching these, because all the videos, plus more actually, that are in the top 10 I've gone back and watched, and I don't usually go back and watch my videos that often, and it's brought back some memories, and yeah, it was quite emotional actually watching some of them, and yeah, we'll maybe get onto that in a wee while. There's a number of videos that were originally, I've kind of chopped and changed my top 10 quite a few times, and there's a few videos which were in there originally which I've taken out. And I'll, if you wait until the end, I'll maybe mention some of those ones which almost made it into the top 10 but didn't quite. So without further ado, let's crack on with my top 5 vlogs which you might find interesting and might provide you with some alternative viewing entertainment as opposed to watching the TV and the news and all that stuff. So, drum roll. What's in at number 5? Well, number 5, this was, yeah, well, these are all fantastic, and this was from, I think it was February or March 2016, and an amazing area of Scotland, especially for hill walkers and hikers and what have you, and it's Torridon, and it's been quite a settled period of weather, and it was just one of those blue sky, bluebird days, just fantastic. There wasn't much wind forecast. And I headed up to Torridon, and it's just a lovely, lovely place, Torridon. If you've not been there, I highly recommend you go to Torridon and maybe do some exploring. There's not a bad walk in that area. It's just a fantastic area to go and explore. So I headed off, and I had my small backpack on as per usual. Absolutely massive. In fact, it was 2 backpacks because I had all the camera equipment on the back of all my camping equipment on my rucksack. And I have this memory of heading up the first Munro. It was Ben Alligin I was going up, by the way, in case you hadn't guessed that. And I just have this memory of, I think I had it in my head that you see the mountain from the road in the classic view, and you can see the quarry, and I always think that's where the climb starts, but actually you do have to gain a fair bit of ascent before you even reach the base of that quarry. And I just remember really struggling with the weight. Whether I had a cold at the time, I don't know, but I was sweating and I was having to take numerous breaks, just thinking, am I going to make it up to the top here? I just don't know what's going to happen. But I persevered and just followed the path up through the quarry, and when I got to the first Munro, Tom the Gruachach, I remember just being so relieved. I was like, this is just, oh, it's just lovely. And I had plenty of time. That's one of the advantages of wild camping. I had loads of time, and I just remember sitting on top of this trig point, and the trig point is basically here, and the cliffs and the steep slopes just drop straight down, probably for about 2,000 or 3,000 feet to the base of the corrie, and the sun was shining, and it was just absolutely magical. But I was keen to get on and over to the second Munro Sgurr Mor of Ben Alligin, because one of the reasons I wanted to do this trip is that I really fancied a specific photograph, and it was a photograph from the second summit, Sgurr Mor, looking down over the horns of Alligin. But I'll come on to that in a wee while. So yeah, it was quite an eventful sort of walk and hike onto the second Munro. It's easy scrambling, really nothing too difficult if you've got a head for heights, but there's a few exposed spots. And this is one of the times I did nearly kill myself, because I was scrambling down a ledge with a big drop, and I was kind of lowering myself down off the edge like that, but I'd forgotten I had 2 backpacks on, and as I was lowering myself down, the backpacks hit the wall behind me and virtually nearly pushed me over over the edge. And shall we say I was a little bit, it woke me up a wee bit. I had to concentrate. It was just a very short scrambling section, but it was a bit scary. I can remember that going down, and but anyway, once I was down off that scramble, it was a fairly easy walk up into the top of the second Munro Sgurr Mor. And when I got there was a wee bit of snow, and I set about setting the pitch up, and it was just brilliant. I tried to put, I think I initially, this won't be on the film, but I initially tried to pitch the tent on the snow, but it was that kind of soft sugary stuff, and it just wasn't, the pegs weren't really going on. I didn't have any snow stakes on me, so I pitched just off the snow. But yeah, what a place it was. There was very little wind, just fantastic, and I kind of loitered on the summit and watched the sun go down. And I took some photos, and some of those photos I still go back to them. Some of the best photographs I've taken, I think. I had the 55 to 200 lens on the crop sensor, so I was able to zoom in, and particularly over towards the Isle of Skye, I think I got some good shots of Skye and the Coolin from the slopes of Ben Alligin. It really was lovely, and I can remember just sitting watching the glow across the horizon after the sun had gone down, and just seeing all these sparkling lights on the water, because it's on the western seaboard again, and of all the fishing boats, and it was just great. And that was fantastic enough. But what most people will remember about this trip, and certainly for me, was after the sun had gone down, I'd gone back to my tent for a wee snooze or a wee bite to eat, and I always do that, give it time for the darkness to settle before I go out and try and take shots of the stars. And I remember looking out, and I saw a flash on the first Munro I'd been on. I thought, somebody's out taking pictures, and I've since spoken to that photographer. He was on the mountain the same day. He's got some fantastic shots. I'll pop a link down to his Instagram in the description below. And I remember seeing his shots of the Northern Lights a few weeks later. So yeah, I obviously didn't know at this point there was Northern Lights, and I was out taking some pictures. I thought, I'll go out now, it's dark enough, and the stars were all out, and it was lovely. And I took a few shots of the tent and looking north, and when I looked at the back of the camera, I could see this faint green glow on the horizon. I couldn't see it with the naked eye at this point, and I just got super excited. And about 10 minutes later, it just got stronger and stronger, and it then became visible to the naked eye. You could just see it. It's the strongest display of the aurora that I've ever witnessed, and I was just so lucky to have been on the top of this mountain when it happened. It was out of luck. It was pure luck. I hadn't looked at any of these aurora forecasts or anything like that. I didn't even have that in my mind when I went up there, and it just went on and on and on. I think I eventually hit the hay at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was still ongoing. Still all these lights, and you had the shafts of lights, and it was over a small town called Gairloch, and looking to the north, and the Hebrides with these northern lights dancing in the sky. They were literally doing the dancing like you see in the videos from Iceland. They wasn't right above me, but it was certainly about a third of the sky. absolutely amazing. I don't know if I'll ever I don't know if I'll ever experience that again. It was such a good experience, and the sunrise was good as well. When I woke the next morning, it was just fabulous. I never really got my shot of the light wasn't right the way I was pointing it for the horns of Alligin. I wasn't really happy with that photo, but there's so many good photographs, and the experience of seeing the Northern Lights puts that strongly in at number 5. Right, what's next? Number 4? What's on number 4 on my list? Another classic, and one which most hill walkers will either, if I mention this, it'll either strike fear into them or into you, or bring a big smile upon your face. And it's one of my adventures across the Aonach Eagach ridge in Glencoe, which is the ridge which encloses the north side. It's a famous scramble, probably perhaps the most famous scramble in Scotland or in the UK. Debatable, perhaps. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Anyway, I'd done it years and years before, and it'd been a long time since I'd done it, and this was in the summer of 2016, and it's a busy place. Aonach Eagach it's such a popular route, so I wanted some solitude, so I left late. I think I got there about 5:30, 6, and my plan was to camp on the first summit, which is called Aonach. And I wasn't too sure whether I was going to do the ridge that evening or first thing in the morning, but by the time I'd hauled my tent up and once again my big huge bag, I was pretty knackered, so I set the tent up and left the ridge for the morning. It was warm, it was super warm. I even had my silly hat on, and whenever I've got that hat on, it means it's it's warm because I look so blooming stupid in it. Anyway, the one thing that I remember actually is I think I had both the outer doors open in the tent, and to the north I could see the Moors and Ben Nevis, and to the south was just Bidgin and Bean. And I can remember thinking what a magnificent mountain Bidgin is, and there's various Munros on it, but essentially it's just one mountain with all these shoulders and ridges going off it. Some of them are Munros, some of them are tops. It really is just such a great mountain, especially viewed from the ridge. But anyway, I got up early. It was another 3:30 early start, and it doesn't really get dark at that time of year in Scotland. And I remember waking up in the night and I could see a couple of stars, but it wasn't pitch black. And I got up and had some coffee and then just did the ridge. And it was just fantastic. Didn't meet another soul, and I went out and back essentially because I had to go back and get my tent. I'd left the tent. I didn't carry all that equipment with me, and just took a light bag with me. And I wanted to film the pinnacles, which is a bit, you do have to, it's a very dangerous part of the ridge. It's very exposed. If you're used to scrambling and climbing, there's no real difficulties, but you do have to be very careful. And I certainly, the amount of footage that I took, I think I must have gone over, I think I must have done that bit of the ridge about 12 or 13 times to make sure I got the footage, because I had the camera filming me going over. I had the footage on my head cam, and I had to, when I looked back at some of the footage, I thought, oh, that's not good, so I had to do it again. And anyway, I certainly got my money's worth going across those pinnacles that day, but hopefully the footage which I'll put up just now, you're maybe watching it as I speak, I think it's worth it. I think it gives a really nice perspective, and you get an idea. It doesn't, when you're on it, you don't really notice the drop as much as you do from the footage that I've got actually. But anyway, that was a fantastic trip, really special trip, and yeah, that comes in at number 4. So right, down to the top 3. What have we got at number 3? Oh right, yes, and this was in March 2016 again. And this is a classic winter mountaineering route, and I think it was one of the first mountaineering routes that was done in Scotland way back in the 19th century. I can't remember the exact date. And this was just a great day out. Me and Jerry went out, and actually this is quite a short vlog. I think it's only about 6 or 7 minutes. And it actually made it onto the TV, believe it or not. At the end of the weekend, there was or was it maybe the Monday, somebody from ITV got in touch, and they usually do a small section of something different on a political programme called Scotland Tonight. and they asked if they could show some of the footage of us going up in this fantastic mountain. And yeah, so I made it onto the TV. Fame and fortune at last. So why is this in my top 3? I've not mentioned where it is yet, have I? Well, it's a classic. It's up a classic mountain and a classic route. And oh my God, did we have amazing weather. So this is why it's in the top 3. And it's an ascent of Ben Louis in the Central Highlands via the route called Central Gully. What a fantastic mountain this is. So we hiked in. It's quite a long walk in to get to the start of the mountain. And we were hiking up into the quarry, and we came across this sort of band of cloud, and basically it was an inversion. We got through the clouds and above it in the quarry, but it was kind of like a broken inversion when we looked back down. Was it Glencanonish? I can't remember. But anyway, it was, when I say broken, it wasn't a continuous layer of cloud from what we could see behind us. But it was still lovely. We were super excited, and the snow was great. It was all super consolidated. And we kind of headed up Central Gully. There was another climbing party with us, but there wasn't that many people on the hill. We'd made good time and got up early, so before too many people got on the hill. And I remember having once again having this big bloody backpack on, and I topped out of the route first because I wanted to get some footage of Jerry coming up. And I remember being at the top, and it was a bit steeper. And the snow, because the sun had got to it, the snow wasn't as consolidated and nice and firm and squeaky as it had been most of the way up. It was a bit sugary. And I remember full concentration was required, which kind of cements it a bit more in the mind as well. But anyway, as I was going up with ice axes, coming out the top of the route and just pulling myself up over onto the summit ridge, and the inversion was just amazing. It was literally just a cloud. So it wasn't a broken inversion like we were looking the other way. This was like out to the west, and it was just a complete inversion. So basically it was just a sea of clouds with the mountains poking through them. Just a proper one of those days you just wish for. And I think even if we'd just gone for a walk that day, it would have been fantastic. But the fact we'd done this classic route, it just added to it. And they're the kind of routes I like. I prefer the easier ones where you don't necessarily need a rope, and you can just keep on going continuously. And we topped out, just sat there because there was no wind, it was warm, and just the views were just fabulous. It was just great. It was fantastic. And then we descended down the Stobgarve Ridge, and that still needs some concentration because it's steep, and you need to have good crampon work to go down there. So that's in at number 3, the ascent of Central Gully, and a fantastic day. So number 2, down to the top 2. Number 2 is my second video in the top 10 from the Isle of Skye. And this was done in February 2016. Crikey, that's the 4 of the top 5 from the same year. It must have been a good year. I must have really had my adventure shoes on that day. And I can remember leaving, and I thought I'm going to go to Skye because the forecast for the weekend was easterly winds, and the weather on the east wasn't too good, but in the lee of the wind up in the Northwest Highlands in Skye, the forecast was fantastic. It really was great. But I can remember leaving early, as I always do at the weekend, and the roads in the east, specifically near Perth, were just horrendous. There was loads of snow, and as I made my way up the A9 and further north, it just kind of petered out. And it's usually the other way about. The further north and west you go, the worse the snow gets. But I can remember it being quite a dicey journey for the first 30 or 40 miles in the car. So anyway, once I got past kind of Dromukter and started heading west, it was just a fabulous drive through Glen Shiel, up past Eilean Castle, and over the Skye Bridge, and I was heading down past Blaven, and I was walking into the hill. It was Scournastree, the name of the hill, on the Black Coolin in Skye, from a place called Kilmarie. So I parked up, and I was going to be going from Kilmarie up and over a Beelach and dropping down to the beach, which is, or the bay, a famous bay called Camasoonery Bay. And it was just lovely. Even that walk in, I remember getting to that high point on the path before the drop down into Camasoonery Bay, and the whole of the beach and the bay and the Coolin was before me. It was just a magical sight. And then I remember getting some good black and white pictures of the hills, because I had Scournastree, which didn't have any snow in it, in the foreground it was black gabbro, and behind it was the black Coolin Ridge, which was actually white at the time, so I got some great photos there. And then when I dropped down into Camasunary, it's just a lovely, it feels so isolated along there. You've got all these magnificent mountains around you, and I spent a bit of time in the bay and just walking along the beach, just enjoying it. It was fantastic. I was a bit concerned. There is a river crossing, which when the tide's in and the river's high, it can prove troublesome. But I was okay that day. It wasn't too bad at all. So yeah, I got across the river, headed up to the top of Skye, and it's just an amazing place. The views there are just astounding. I'll maybe put up some footage of it. But I remember, I suppose the main memory from that trip was trying to find a spot to pitch the tent near the summit. It took me a long time to do that, but the pitch that I got was just literally right on the edge of this big cliff, and it was just amazing. It was a really good trip. It's quite a long slog into that hill to get that view with all this heavy pack on and all the camera gear, so I was really chuffed. And when I woke in the morning, yeah, it was a bit windier, like had been forecast. I think I'd got quite lucky the night before, and the memory from that was my tripod fell over, and it was on the edge of the cliff, and it broke the back of the screen, and I was just glad that I didn't lose all the footage, to be honest with you. That was another memory from that trip. Anyway, it was fantastic. So that was in at number 2, the Skye Wild Camp. Right. Number 1, what have we got number 1? Right, this is a bit poignant, and I think it's easily head and shoulders my favourite, maybe the wrong word, but most emotional vlog, and I did find it quite hard. I don't tend to watch my vlogs after I've made them. I'm usually sick of the sight of me, and sick of the sight of going through them and editing them for so long. But I went back and watched this one, and it was the first time I'd watched it in, I don't know, this year anyway. So so this is actually from 2018, and it's a wild camp, and it's it was that summer 2018. What was I think there was a video in the was it in the, I can't remember which one. Anyway, one of the ones from 10 to 6 was from the same summer, 2000. It was just an amazing summer, and it was super warm, and I decided I was going to go and camp on the top of a hill on Nambian, the one I was talking about when I did Aonach Eagach. It's called Stobcorn Lochan. It's not the summit, or it's a summit, but it's not the top of the mountain. It's a subsidiary top, and I go there quite a lot in the winter with Jerry, usually climbing or up Broad Gully, and yeah, we usually see it in the snow. And I was a bit concerned going up in the summer. I wasn't sure if it would be rocky or whether there'd be a pitch again, like in the last Skye vlog. I wasn't sure if I was going to find a pitch when I got to the top of it. And I remember heading up, and it was just lovely. It was super warm. I took my time, and yeah, I got up there, and there was just this lovely bit of grass. It was almost like, I don't know, I think I mentioned it in the video. I'm not a spiritual person, but there was somebody looking down at me in that video, because there was a beautiful pitch, just big enough for my one-man tent, smooth, level grass, and it was warm. There was just a slight breeze to keep the midges at bay, and I got up to the top, put my tent up. I took a walk up to the highest point, the big summit, Nambian, and just enjoyed this beautiful sunset. And I think some of the best photographs I've ever taken, and once again it was on my zoom lens, but easily the best photographs because they've got a bit of meaning behind them, as well as I think they're quite good. I think they're quite good anyway. In fact, one of them made it onto the cover of the Scots magazine, and they also published a bit online about the trip. And coming on to it, that's the main reason this is at number 1. So it was a good trip. It was a great wild camp. Got some good photography, great conditions. Blah 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 blah. I've got a few of those videos, but what really sets this video apart from anything I've ever done is the fact that it was all about. Well, it wasn't all about a letter. My mum passed away earlier, a couple of months before I went up here, and she'd written me a letter, and I'd said to her, I'm going to keep this letter and read it on the top of a mountain. when the weather's perfect, and this was it. Now, when I filmed the video, I didn't have this in mind. I mean, obviously I had the letter with me, but I wasn't going to vlog it. I wasn't going to tell anybody about it. I did a bit to camera right at the end about it, but I still wasn't sure whether I was going to include it in the vlog. So a lot of the vlog is like a normal vlog, and then there's just this bit at the end about my mum. Yeah, so sorry, yeah. Yeah, still getting emotional about it. Yeah, so the vlog, that's what sets it apart, and I was glad that I put that bit in, because I got so many. I mean, the response to that video was just amazing. Yeah, really astounding response, and that kind of hit my heart as well. So thanks to everyone that responded to that video, because it did help. It helped me a lot during that time. But it's a couple of years ago. So anyway, so that was the reason. This is the reason it's at number one. Really, it really is a special video to me. I've got some of the pictures. I've actually got them blown up on big, massive prints. To be fair, at the time I didn't realise they were going to be so big. My weight, I think I got my feet in my metres or my inches and my centimetres mixed up. I remember these pictures arrived in massive boxes. My wife was going, "What the hell is this?" But I've got two of them on the wall, big canvases, which is great. And the other thing that I remember, going away from the letter, I need to pull myself together. The other thing that I remember about that, or trying to edit that film, was my card, all the footage from my drone. When I got home, the SD card was corrupt. It didn't work. I couldn't pull anything off it, and I took it down to a shop, and I lost about 3/4 of the files. When I say I lost them off this SD card. So a lot of the footage that you see in that video was actually pulled from my phone, because the drone sends it's a lower quality film to the phone, and that was a real disappointment. And I must also say the music in that film is just amazing music, and it's from Gavin McCloy. We'd got in touch, and that's one of the songs that he has, and I said to him, "I've got a perfect video can I use your song on that for?" So he very kindly allowed me to use his music, and I think it's very, very fitting. I think that song that he's written was perfect for that video. So that's in at number one. The one last thing I'd say about that trip, and as I said before, it's all to do with emotions and what have you. The next morning, and I wish I'd put this in, but again, when I was editing the film and added the bit about the letter, I still was a bit unsure on how it would come across. And anyway, in the following video, there's footage of the sunrise, and I kid you not, there's oh God. Right, sorry about that, compose myself. Yeah, so the next morning, it was a lovely sunrise, and I kind of split the video in two, and I wish I hadn't, but there was this lovely pink skies as you get sometimes for a lovely sunrise, and this pink cloud just turned into this massive big heart in the sky, which was, I don't know, just very, very, very appropriate, given what had happened the night before. So that's what number one was, and it really was just, it's all to do with the emotion in that video, I think, and what it means to me. And the other thing which was very, very touching was the fact that the response to that video, the comments I got, because I was a bit unsure on how it would come across. And I just thank you for everyone that responded with their lovely comments, and it was just so nice that it also touched a lot of other people. So that was lovely. So that's what's at number one, was my trip up Stockholm and Lochen and Bidgen to read the letter from my mum. So that's it. I did say at the start of the video that there was many other vlogs which almost made it. In fact, they were in the top 10 at times, and then they were out, and they were in, and they were out. And I just thought I'd give some mentions to those videos. So there was the curved ridge. I climbed up curved ridge That was quite recent, I think that was last year. Beautiful weather, and I bivvied on the summit of Stob Gerrard on the Buchel. That was in the top 10 for a wee while, and then it sank down a wee bit. There was also the night hike that I did in Glencoe, where I drove through, well, I was up about 1 o'clock or something in the morning, and went up Buchel of Beg and just watched the sun come up, and that was just special because you were climbing in the night and the stars were out and it was up the snow and the sunrise was amazing. It was great. The other ones which came in or nearly made it into the top 10 was there was an oldie where I camped on Ben Chulick in Glen Etive, and that video, the morning of that day was just immense because I woke up and I was in the fog, and then the fog just lowered underneath me. It was just such a special trip, that one. Crowberry Gully, climbed up Crowberry Gully, and that's another good video. And the other one which was my trip up a hill called Gavin on the Isle of Skye, and it was just fantastic bluebird conditions all the way to the top. And then within 10 minutes the weather changed, and these big storms came in, and I was engulfed in a blizzard. It was just a fantastic day. The beauty and I suppose it signifies how things can change in Scotland so quickly. And that one, the Garvan trip, because I went up, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the way down it was proper blizzard, blown a hoolie conditions, so that was really good. So anyway, that's the top 5. I hope you enjoyed them. As I said, it just gives you something, it's just to give you something else, maybe perhaps a suggestions of what you could perhaps watch as opposed to the telly at the moment. I really hope you guys are all safe and well out there. It's not a very good time. And until Wednesday, I'll sign out here. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in Wednesday's vlog.